checking in on some guys. Mike Martinez, is he still with the program?
Mike is not with us any longer.
Okay, is that a new development?
He's not with us any longer.
All right, what about Damian Sellers?
Unavailable.
Is he still with the program?
Yep.
Patrick Selma?
Unavailable.
Still with the program?
Yep.
Okay. Mike Martinez was, your best blocking tight end. How big of a loss is that?
Yeah, you got to compensate, and we feel good about our tight end room. They're working extremely hard. I think it's a really, really good group, and we're going to move on.
What about Norton Jr.? He's been very vocal and hands-on out here. How did that kind of move come about to hire him?
I've always known Ken. Everybody's known Ken, especially the legacy that he left here as a player, and then what he did as a player in the National Football League. And then when I was at Oregon, I coached against Ken when he was on Pete's staff at SC, and then knew Ken when he was in the NFL in Seattle and the Raiders. So I've known of him. And when we had an opening when Coach Pelham retired, he was probably the first guy we thought of. Brought him in to visit with him a little bit. He still has a house here, so this is kind of an off-season home for him. So it just kind of lined up and fit, and we were really excited. Coach Pelham was really a guy that stood out in this league for a long, long time. At Cal, at Oregon, and here. And when he retired, to be able to fill Don's spot with Ken was big for us. So I think our players really enjoy it. He's got a lot of knowledge. He's coached at both levels. He's been a coordinator in the NFL, so I think it's a big plus for us right now.
Do you feel his love for the program, given that he played here?
Yeah, you can sense that. You sense that with him. You sense that with Deshaun. You sense that with Jerry. There's a bond and a kinship, and I know, so the former players that have been to practice and the opportunity, they're so excited that Ken's back here. So that's a big part of it too.
And he also seems like he's a real hands-on teacher. Just watching him, he's very vocal.
He is. He's always been that way. Since I've known him from coaching against him. That's one of the things that the players that have played for him before that I've had a chance to visit with and talk with is that Ken does a great job of sharing his knowledge of his experience from playing the game and then from all the years that he's coached the game. So he's a hands-on teacher that's doing a great job with our backers right now.
With Martinez leaving, what kind of opportunity does it present for someone like Hudson Havermill?
The same, and Hud would have had a ton of opportunities just because he deserves it. He's worked extremely hard at transitioning from wideout, which he came in here as a freshman, to where he is now. He's up to almost 250 pounds. He's doing a heck of a job for us. So we got a bunch of guys here, him, Zeke, Prebeat, that have played a lot of football for us, and then the two young freshmen are starting to come along. Carson was here because he could enroll early, and Jack Peterson has really shined since he got here, and he's doing a really nice job right now. So we feel like it may be our deepest position on both sides of the ball, because I think we got 4 or 5 guys that can play.
Is Hudson on scholarship?
Yep.
He is.
Yep.
Shea Pitts, is he on scholarship?
Yep.
Okay.
We were talking to Deshaun last week. He said he keeps in touch with all the running backs who have come through here and are in the NFL now. His group chat with him gives him advice. It's training camp right now in the NFL, a lot of roster cuts going on. Do you talk to guys who come through the program about that?
Yeah, we text back and forth with those guys, with Josh and Felt, the guys that are playing. Ethan Fournette had 2 catches the other day. Talked to the wideout coach for the Colts the other day that was talking about what a great job he's doing. We kind of try to keep in touch with all of our guys. We had, I think, 6 kids got drafted last year, the most in the Pac-12, and then we had another 7 that got free agent tryouts. So there's a bunch of our guys from last year's teams that are running around NFL camps right now. So you kind of keep an eye on.
Coach, what do we expect to see out of your new defensive coordinator this week?
I think it's not just the coordinator. I think it's the whole staff. They've bonded very well. Brian had been here from before, so a lot of the terminology is still the same. And I think that's the biggest thing, is what was the easiest thing for our players to handle in terms of how that transition maybe tweaked a little bit differently from a technique standpoint. But there was a lot of carryover from a knowledge standpoint in terms of Brian being able to share that with Billy and Akaika and Chad and Kenny. So, the group of them have really gotten together, and they work really, really well together as a group. So I don't look at that as an individual, but I look at it as an entire side of the ball. I think they're doing a really nice job.
Coach, I missed it. It was a little quiet. You said Damian Sellers is still with the program?
Yeah.
Why is he not on the roster?
Excuse me? Because he's unavailable right now. So we'll see what happens with him.
When UCLA moved to the Big Ten, They announced they had a pretty exhaustive statement outlining why we did this, why it makes sense for UCLA. But then tomorrow, regents are going to be right there, and UCLA is going to have to explain itself again. Does this make sense to you? I mean, what do you make of UCLA having to go back at this and explain itself again?
I think that's obviously Martin and Chancellor Block handle all that. That's not my role. So when the news came out, for us as we looked at it as a team, it's a move that's going to happen 2 years from now. And so for us, after we got that information, our focus became on two things: this team and this year. So that's kind of what we have our hands on. So we're getting ready for our opening game against Bowling Green. We kind of always keep our task on what's next in line for us, and that's what's next in line for the football program. So we don't have any sway. It's not like I've been invited to those talks, or nor should I be invited to those talks. That's got nothing to do with me or any of the other coaches. So that's something that probably a Chancellor Block and a Martin conversation if you want to have.
It will affect you in 2024.
I know that, but I don't have a vote in it. So,
right.
So I don't.
But just in general, what's your thoughts of
My
UCLA,
thoughts
the
are
Big
that I
Ten?
don't have a vote in it. So I'm going to get ready to have a really good Tuesday practice today.
A couple more guys. Hayden Nelson, is he on scholarship?
Nope.
No. Alex Johnson, you had said
Nope.
he's not.
Jack Lander?
Nope.
Nick Barmura.
You guys could go through. I'll tell you when the kids go on scholarship. I'll give you that information.
Well, we've asked, but you
I
haven't
know,
told us.
but they haven't gone on scholarship. That's why I haven't told
Well,
you.
We've asked if people have gone on scholarship who are
Hudson
former
went on
walk-ons.
last. Those guys went on in the springtime.
You didn't tell us.
Okay, so maybe they went on after you asked me.
So we have to ask, is what you're saying.
Yeah, I didn't
Okay.
announce it, so
You
it may
just
have
said
happened
you-
at the end
you
of
just
spring
said
ball.
you would tell
and
us,
I haven't talked about
but
that.
we have to
If
ask.
any of those other kids go on during
Got it.
camp,
As
I'll
long
tell
as
you.
we have to ask, then that's what
Okay.
we're doing.
Okay,
We'll get you a list.
I'll get you a list.
That'd be great.
We'll get it.
As far as your defense goes, how much easier does it make the transition when you've got highly productive transfers like the Murphys, Darius, Jacob Sykes, when you've got so many new parts?
Well, I think what makes it the transition easy is that those guys are really, really intelligent football players. So they're well versed in where they came from. I will say this: they were all really well coached in the programs that they came from, so they got a really good base of knowledge coming in. And I think that's part of it. Those guys understand football. It may have been called this at their other school, but it's called this here. They can make that easy transition. So all those guys have a really good heart of football.
All right, thanks, guys.
Thank you.
All right, guys, thank you.